Hey everyone, welcome back to Mental Wealth Reads. We're going to continue on with Success Through Positive Mental Attitude, Chapter 17. This one's about 8 pages, so it shouldn't take all that long. The last one was a really short one, I think, but this one shouldn't take all that long. So we're going to get right into it. Chapter 17. You can enjoy good health and live longer. Positive mental attitude plays an important role in your health and your day-to-day energies and enthusiasms for your life and your work. Every day in every way, through the grace of God, I am getting better and better. Is no pie-in-the-sky jargon for the man who recites the sentence several times each day upon awaking and again before going to bed. In one sense, he is putting PMA forces to work for him. He is using the forces which attract the better things of life to him. He is using the forces with which the authors of Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude want you to use. PMA will help you develop mental and physical health in a longer life. And NMA will just as surely undermine mental and physical health and shorten your life. It all depends on which side of the talisman you turn up. Positive mental attitude, properly employed, has saved the lives of many persons because someone close to them had a strong positive mental attitude. The following incident proves the point. The baby was only 2 days old when the doctor said, "The child won't live." "The child will live," responded the father. The father had a positive mental attitude. He had faith. He believed in the miracle of prayer. He prayed. He also believed in action. And he got into action. He placed the child under the care of a pediatrician who also had a positive mental attitude. A doctor who knew from experience that every physical weakness nature provides a compensating factor. The child did live. I can't go on. Death separates pair, for instance. The above headline appeared in Chicago Daily News. The article mentioned that a building engineer, a 62-year-old man, came home and went to bed with chest pains and shortness of breath. His wife, who was 10 years younger, became alarmed and began hopefully to rub her husband's arms to increase circulation. But he died. "I can't stand to go on anymore," the widow told her mother, who was beside her. And then the widow died. She died that very same day. The baby that lived and the widow who died demonstrate the powerful forces of positive and negative mental attitudes. Knowing that accentuating the positive will attract good things to you and accepting the negative will bring the bad, isn't it common sense to develop positive thoughts and attitudes? If you've not already done so, now is the time to develop a PMA philosophy. Prepare for any possible energy. Always have something to live for. And remember, when you have something to live for, the subconscious mind forces upon your conscious mind strong motivating factors to keep you alive in times of energy. We need look no further than Rafael Correa to prove our point. He was only 20 years of age. His family was not wealthy, yet it was particularly well esteemed. Therefore, 6 doctors and a young intern had struggled all night in that small operating room at San Juan, Puerto Rico, trying to save Rafael's life. Now, after 12 hours of unceasing watchfulness and attention, they were tired, and they were sleepy. Try as they would, they were finally unable to hear his heartbeat. They couldn't find his pulse. The head surgeon took a knife and cut the blood vessels in Rafael's wrist. The fluid was yellow. The surgeon hadn't used an anesthetic, for the boy's body was so weak that pain didn't seem possible. The doctors thought he could not hear what they were saying, and they spoke as if he were dead. One said, "Not even a miracle could save him now." The chief surgeon took off his surgical coat and prepared to leave the room. The young intern asked, "May I have the body?" "Yes," was the response. The doctors left the room. It has been written, "So we do not lose heart, because we look not to the things that are seen, but the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal." They could see the physical body, but Rafael was a mind with a body. What was happening to the mind of Rafael Correa, which was not visible? In that twilight state between life and death, Rafael was not able to consciously to move his body, but because of the positive mental attitude he had developed in his subconscious mind by reading inspirational books. His mind was communicating with a higher power. He felt that God was with him. He began to speak to God as a friend, like a man talking with another. You know me, you are inside me. You are my blood, you are my life, you are my everything. There is but one mind, one principle, one substance in the universe, and I am one with all of these. If I die, I don't lose anything. I just change form. But I am only 20 years old. Dear God, I'm not afraid to die, but I am willing to live. If you choose to give me life, someday, somehow, I'll be able and willing through your mercy to lead a better life and to help others. As the intern approached Raphael, he looked at Raphael's face and observed the twitching of his eyelids and a teardrop falling from the corner of his eye. Doctor, come quickly. I think he's alive, he called excitedly. It took more than a year for him to regain his strength, but Rafael Correa did live. Some years later, Raphael flew from San Juan to Chicago to ask the authors to hold a 3-evening PMA seminar at San Juan. It was then that Raphael told us his story of that eventful night in his life. We were inspired by his story, and particularly also by the fact that since he had been granted his life, he was trying to make good on his promise to help others. We flew to San Juan to conduct the seminar. While we were in San Juan, Raphael introduced us to the chief surgeon who had been with him all that night, and the doctor confirmed Raphael's story. During the course of the conversation, we asked Raphael, "What was the name of the book that influenced you in your hour of need?" Raphael replied, "I had read many inspirational books, but I believe the thoughts that went through my mind that night were primarily from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy." As proved by Raphael, inspirational books are tremendously instrumental in changing lives. And there is no book with more inspiration and motivation than the Bible. The Bible has changed lives for more persons than any other book. It has helped countless thousands to develop physical, mental, and moral health. Reading the Bible has developed a greater understanding of its truths in many persons and caused them to draw closer to their own church. This is because the Bible has motivated them to positive action. An inspirational book like the one you are now reading can also motivate you. It can be the catalyst which starts you on the road to desirable positive action and success. The dictionary defines a catalyst in physical chemistry as a substance that causes or accelerates a chemical reaction. The dictionary further states that an anti-catalyst or negative catalyst retards a reaction. The authors recommend that you use good inspirational books as positive catalysts to accelerate your progress toward achievement of true success in life, and they hasten to warn that you choose such catalysts with care. In chapter 22 of this book, entitled The Amazing Power of a Bibliography, you will find listed many books which the authors guarantee can act as positive catalysts in your life, if you are ready. Martin J. Coe, in his book Your Greatest Power, tells of the British regiment that used the 91st Psalm as a catalyst to aid them not just to achieve a material goal, but for the very preservation of life itself. Co-wrote F.L. Rawson, noted engineer of one of England's greatest scientists, in his book Life Understood, gives an account of a British regiment under control of Colonel Whittlesey, there we go, which served in the World War for more than 4 years without losing a man. This unparalleled record was made possible by means of active cooperation of officers and men in memorizing and repeating regularly the words of the 91st Psalm, which has been called the Psalm of Protection. Protection of your life can also be accomplished by protecting your health. And, let there be no misunderstanding about it, your health is one of your most valuable assets. Many a man today would be more than willing to trade his wealth for good health. I'd rather have my health than his money. It is said that a healthy, ambitious 18-year-old clerk in a produce firm in Cleveland, Ohio, developed a major definite aim of becoming the world's richest man. At the age of 57, he retired on doctor's orders. Like many American businessmen, he had it. Stomach ulcers and shot nerves. In addition, he was a hated man. I'd rather have my health than his money, many said. John K. Winkler tells the story in John D., A Portrait in Oils. Can money buy physical and mental health, a longer life, and the esteem of your fellow men? When John D. Rockefeller retired from active business, his major definite aims were to develop a healthy body, maintain a healthy mind, live a long life, and later to win the esteem of his fellow men. Could money buy these? It did. Here's how Rockefeller did it and what it can mean to you. Rockefeller attended the Baptist church services every Sunday and took notes to learn the principles that he might apply daily. Slept 8 hours every night and took short naps every day. And through rest, he avoided harmful fatigue. Took a bath or shower every day. He was neat and clean in his appearance. Moved to Florida to a climate conducive to his good health and longevity. Lived a well-balanced life, for fresh air and sunshine were absorbed while he daily engaged in his favorite outdoor sport, golf. And indoor games, reading, and other wholesome activities were enjoyed with regularity. Ate slowly, in moderation, and chewed everything well. The saliva in his mouth was permitted to mix with the masticated food and liquids, and they were well digested before they were swallowed. They were swallowed at body temperature. Foods too hot or too cold for the mouth were not dumped into his stomach to burn or freeze its lining. Digested mental and spiritual vitamins. For grace was said at each meal. And at dinner, it was his custom to have his secretary, a guest, or a member of his family read the Bible, a sermon, an inspirational poem, a motivating article from a newspaper, magazine, or book. Employed Dr. Hamilton Fisk Bigger full-time. Dr. Bigger was paid to keep John D. well, happy, and alive. He did this through motivating his patient to develop a cheerful, happy attitude. And Rockefeller lived to be 97. Didn't want the hatred of his fellow men to be inherited by the members of his family. Therefore, he began intelligently to share a part of his possessions with the needy. At first, Rockefeller's motive was primarily a selfish one. He wanted a good reputation. Then something happened. By acting generous, he became generous. And by bringing happiness and wealth to many through his charitable and philanthropic contributions, he found them for himself. And the foundations he established will benefit mankind for generations to come. His life and money were instruments for good. This world is a better and healthier world to live in because of John D. Rockefeller. You shouldn't have to amass a fortune before you come to realize that PMA will attract perfect health. But there are some other ingredients which should be used along with PMA, and one of them is health education. Don't be ignorant about your health. The price of ignorance is sin, sickness, and death. What do you know about hygiene? Hygiene is defined as a system of principles or rules designed for the promotion of health. Social hygiene often refers specifically to venereal contagion. Ignorance of physical, mental, and social hygiene can lead to sin, sickness, and death. If you are timid in discussing such matters, read Venture of Faith by Mary Alice and Harold Blake Walker. Today, because of PMA, the family, schools, churches, press, and medical profession, the federal and state governments, and youth organizations endeavor to lift the dark cloud of ignorance regarding physical, mental, and social hygiene through education. Prevention is taught as well as cure. But a cure for alcoholism is not so easy to come by as education and hygiene. Alcoholism ranks as the 4th largest health problem in the nation. It follows mental and moral disease and is one of the greatest contributors to those two diseases. The economic cost of alcoholism is $25 billion per year. The greater portion of this is loss of time to industry, followed by hospital costs and physical damages, caused mainly by automobile accidents. But the money loss is negligible compared to the loss of physical, mental, and moral health and the loss of life attributable to alcoholism. An alcoholic has a mental illness which lies dormant until his first drink. If he doesn't start the habit, liquor doesn't have the power of attraction for him. If he drinks, the affinity is strong, and he will drink to excess. If he drinks to excess, the attraction may become irresistible or seem so. And when he tries to resist and doesn't succeed, he may believe he cannot be cured. What happens to excessive drinkers? Alcohol is known to alter the brain waves, and as recorded by the scientific instrument known as electroencephalograph. It has a most potent influence on nerve cell metabolism, which results in slow rhythms and eventual suppression of voltage and brings about a change in the level of consciousness. A human body is alive only as long as its subconscious mind functions. It can be kept alive for a long time without the function of the conscious mind. There are degrees of consciousness. Sanity is that healthy state of mind when the activities of the conscious and the subconscious are in proper balance. and while they work together, each has its specific duties. Each has inhibiting factors. While sometimes it is healthful and wholesome for a person to do the things he wants to do, but which are forbidden, judgments and actions should be the result of the consciousness and subconscious working in balance. The intellect and other powers of the conscious mind act as a governor regulating the subconscious when a person is in a conscious state of activity. As the activity of this governor slows down, the machine begins to run wild, and the individual may act as an illogical manner. His uncontrolled activities may range from a simple foolish act to a state of mind commonly known as insanity. As the inhibiting barriers are lowered due to the effect of alcohol on the brain cells, the restraining controls of the conscious mind become less effective. When the emotions, passions, and other activities of the subconscious mind have too free a rein, without proper regulation by the balance wheel of the intellect, the individual in this semi-conscious state of mind will commit foolish and undesirable acts due to alcoholic influence. Alcoholism is indeed a dread disease. If allowed to control a person's life, it can render that person physically, mentally, and morally ill, and send him to a living hell. Once alcohol has gained control in a person's life, it does not readily relinquish its hold. But there is a cure. What's the cure? Stop drinking. For the alcoholic, this is more easily said than done. The important thing is that it can be done. He can do it. When you develop a positive mental attitude, you don't give up trying because you have previously failed, or because you know of cases where others have failed. You can be motivated and receive hope from successful experiences. A baby learning to walk isn't criticized for falling after taking the first 3 steps. It is given credit for the progress it makes in response to its conscious effort. The alcoholic may find help in a number of places. Complete cures for alcoholism have been affected by environmental influences in the religious therapy of established churches. Rescue missions like the Pacific Garden Mission in Chicago, revival meetings of evangelists like Oral Roberts, Alcoholics Anonymous, medical and psychiatric help including hypnosis, private hospitals such as the Keeley Institute at Dwight, Illinois, or an inspirational book like I Dare You. However, each individual must win his own internal victory. But generally, it is necessary for him to come under the environmental influence of someone who will help him through suggestion until he takes control of his own power. Or, if you will, until he has a positive mental attitude developed beyond the point of relapsing into a negative mental attitude. PMA can do wonders for the alcoholic if only he will put it to work for himself. And PMA will work wonders for you, too, in attracting health and longevity. Uncertainty about your health can undermine your PMA by causing you to worry about every little ache or pain. The longer you remain uncertain, the more your attitude changes direction from positive to negative. And if the symptoms you have noticed really do denote a condition that requires attention, the longer you remain uncertain and do nothing, the greater are the opportunities for that condition to develop. Don't be uncertain about your health. Get into action. Take the guesswork out of your health. He was a young man, dynamic, successful automobile sales manager. His whole future was ahead of him, and yet he was mighty low. In fact, he expected to die. He even selected and purchased his cemetery lot and made all arrangements for his burial. He got his house in order. But here's what actually happened. At times he became short of breath. His heart beat rapidly. His throat choked up. Eventually, he went to his family doctor, who was a very successful physician and surgeon. The doctor advised him to take a rest, to take life easy, to retire from the work he loved, the thrilling game of selling automobiles. The sales manager stayed home for a while and rested his body, but because of fears, his mind was not at ease. He still became short of breath. His heart would beat rapidly. His throat would choke up. It was summertime, and his doctor advised him to vacation in Colorado. He was carried into the Pullman compartment. Colorado, with its healthful climate and inspirational mountains, did not prevent the manifestation of his fears. He would frequently experience shortness of breath, rapid beating of the heart, and the same choked-up feeling. Within a week, he returned home. He believed death was coming. Take the guesswork out of it, the salesman was told, as you might be told, by one of the authors. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose by going to a clinic such as Mayo Brothers at Rochester, Minnesota. Do it now. At his request, he was driven to Rochester by a relative. He was actually afraid that he might die en route. When the sales manager went through the clinic, he was told what was wrong with him. The doctor said, "Your difficulty is that you breathe in too much oxygen." He laughed and said, "That's silly." The doctor responded, "Jump up and down 50 times as if you were jumping rope." He became short of breath. His heart beat rapidly, and his throat choked up. "What can I do about it?" the young man asked. The doctor responded, "When you feel this condition coming on, you can, 1. breathe into a paper bag, or 2. just hold your breath for a little while." And the doctor handed the patient a paper bag. The patient followed instructions. His heart stopped breathing rapidly, breathing became more normal, and his throat didn't bother him. He left the clinic a happy man. Whenever the symptoms of his illness occurred, he would just hold his breath for a short time, and his body would function normally. After a few months, he lost his fears, and his symptoms disappeared. This happened more than 30 years ago. He hasn't required mental attention since. Of course, not all cures are so easily effective. There are times when you may have to use all your resources before aid is found. However, it is wise to continue the search with persistence and a positive mental attitude. Such determination and optimism usually pay off. It did for another sales manager. Let us tell you about him. There's always a cure. Find it. This particular sales manager registered in a small town hotel and fell and broke a leg as he entered the room assigned to him. The hotel manager took our sales manager to the nearest hospital where an attending physician set his leg. A few days later, it was considered safe for him to be moved, and he returned to his home. He convalesced for several weeks under the attention of his family physician, but while he seemed to improve, the fracture did not heal. After many weeks, the doctor told him that he would get progressively worse. He would become a cripple. This sales manager was very much disturbed because his work required that he be on his feet. He discussed the matter with one of the authors who said, "Don't believe it. There's always a cure. Find it. Take the guesswork out of it. Do it now." He was told the story of the automobile sales manager as it has been told to you, and it was suggested that he make arrangements to go to Mayo Brothers Clinic. He also left the clinic a happy man. Why? He was told, "Your system needs calcium. We could load you with it, but the calcium would wear off. Just drink a quart of milk a day." He did. In time, the injured leg became as strong as the sound one. A positive mental attitude applied to health takes into consideration the possibility of accidents. In fact, safety first is a PMA symbol. From it, you receive the suggestion to become alert and enforce your desire to live, to save life and property. A newspaper article carried a headline reading, "Late for a funeral, 6 die in a 100 miles per hour blowout." The lead read, 6 funerals were precipitated Sunday by the crash of an automobile whose driver was stepping on the gas in fear he and his relatives would be late for one funeral. Drive carefully if you want to be physically and mentally healthy, and if you want to live longer. As a pedestrian, be alerted to the hazards and obey traffic laws. And when you ride with another person at the wheel of the automobile, remember you are at the mercy of his physical and mental weaknesses, if any, as well as the mechanical condition of his car. Have the courage to refuse to ride with an intoxicated driver, or in an automobile in which the brakes don't operate properly, even if you own the car. The life you save may be your own. Although it cost $1 million a floor for each of its 41 stories, the Prudential Building in Chicago was the most inexpensive office building of its kind ever constructed. Why? It didn't cost a single life. There were no serious accidents. Safety factors were installed because of PMA. In comparison, negative mental attitudes comprising ignorance and carelessness caused in tragic accidents. 1 death for every 100 feet of height of the Empire State Building. 110 deaths in the construction of Hoover Dam. 1 life for every 110 feet in the construction of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. 80 deaths in the construction of the Colorado River Aqueduct. 1,219 deaths in the construction of the Panama Canal. There were 4,766 additional fatalities during the construction of this project from other causes. 97 deaths in the building of the Grand Coulee Dam and the Columbia River Basin Project. Of course, no one actually knows when the tragedy will strike, but it always is better to be prepared. You will be prepared if you have a positive mental attitude. Aunt Kitty was. Aunt Kitty lost her only son when he was 9 years old. Like many good housewives and mothers, she had no business training. But Aunt Kitty did have a strong religious faith. She knew that in spite of her great loss, it was her job to go on living and contributing her share to make this world a better world to live in. But how could she maintain physical and mental health so that she could go on? Aunt Kitty decided that in order to ease her pain and fill the great void in her life, she would have to keep very busy, and do whatever her abilities would permit to make other people happy, since she could no longer do this for her son. She got a job as a waitress in a busy restaurant. Her hours were long. Her work made it mandatory to talk with people and act cheerful. Faith in her religion and a sincere interest in other people, combined with work and time, neutralized her pain and saved her physical and mental health. Actually, your health may be affected by many internal influences, and some of these influences may be mental figments of the imagination. High school girls get pains before examinations. Because of the interrelationship between the mind and body, the subconscious mind may create apparent bodily disorders induced by emotional disturbances to bring about a specific desired result. A true life experience will prove the point. A high school girl experienced several severe backaches the morning of any day on which she was to take a German or history examination. She didn't like either subject. She wasn't properly prepared. Her pains were so severe that she believed she couldn't get up from bed. She was not pretending. She suffered. A particular characteristic of the pain was that about 3:30 in the afternoon, when school was over for the day, the pain would subside. On the same evening, when her boyfriend came to call, the pain would marvelously disappear. This girl, you probably are thinking, could do with a little psychiatry. She could. She and many others like her have been helped through religion and psychiatry. The two are not as far apart as many may think. Why? Religion and psychiatry. Rules and regulations are physical and mental health. For physical and mental health, and a longer life were woven into religion long before words similar to physiology, psychology, and psychiatry became part of any language. This is especially true regarding the application of techniques affecting the subconscious mind. It is easy to see why psychiatric clinics and counseling services are becoming an integral part of church organizations regardless of their religious denominations. The minister to millions helps the sick. The Reverend Norman Vincent Peale and Smiley Blanton, MD, established the American Foundation of Religion and Psychiatry, which is now known as the Institutes of Religion and Health. It is a non-profit, non-sectarian clinic in New York City. Anyone with an emotional problem is eligible for help regardless of race, religion, or ability to pay. Today there is a full and part-time professional staff and 35 composed of psychiatrists, ministers, psychologists, and psychiatric social workers. If you would like information on how to establish a counseling service in your church, write the Institutes. What lies ahead? Mental and physical health are two great rewards of a positive mental attitude. It is true, a positive mental attitude takes effort, patience, and practice to gain and maintain. But a definite purpose, clean and clear thinking, creative vision, courageous action, persistence, and true perception, all applied with enthusiasm and faith, will go far to help you achieve and maintain a positive mental attitude. And what lies ahead as you approach your definite goals? Happiness lies ahead. If you are happy now, you will wish to maintain and increase this wonderful happiness, which you already have. If you are not happy now, you will want to learn how you can be happy. Let's turn to Chapter 18, entitled Can You Attract Happiness, to find additional PMA success principles to speed us in our pursuit of happiness. Okay, so that was Chapter 17. Went a little longer than I expected, so I don't have much time to talk about it. But this is a kind of a longer way of explaining the previous chapter, in that your mental attitude does and will affect the way that you approach things, and it can overcome anything, right? The example of the boy who was essentially dead on an operating table, who was able to come back, and he had a reason. I think that's a very important thing, right? Coming up with an emotional, mental, and even spiritual goal or incentive to stay alive, or to, overcome what you're overcoming, that's going to take you far. And I think for more of that, check out the Man's Search for Meaning video series that I've got uploaded also, to kind of go into more of that, because they do explain, Viktor Frankl goes into more of where that comes from and what that means. But like I said, I don't have much time to explain this. I think if there's a takeaway from today, or at least this chapter, it's just simply that you can do it, right? No matter what it is, you can do it, and that is something. Again, there are lots of studies done, lots of cases in history where a person has, the thing that kept them from succeeding was the expectation that they would, right, or could, right. And that connects with your mind, your body, your spirit on such a greater level, I think, than you might realize. And so, expounding on his points to, go seek spiritual direction or read the Bible or whatever. Essentially, what I think the main point there is, be sure to cater to all parts of your existence, right? If you're not religious, that's okay. But do something that really tends to your spirit, right? It could be meditation, it could be more time in nature, it could be something. But it is important to really, like I said, cater to all of your existence, right? So that you have a strong, or a strength of body, mind, soul all together, right? Now I do have to let you guys go. I got a client coming in a minute, but I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.